Greetings friends and fellow cigar box guitar enthusiasts. Del Puckett here and welcome to the Blues Box. This is a beginner cigar box guitar lesson and I'm going to be using the 12-bar blues as a template. There'll be plenty of samples and examples at the end of this video that will be covering the topics that we're going to be talking about here. So we are going to be dismantling, dissecting the 12-bar blues, and I'm going to be using a box to illustrate that. So check this out. All right, so as you can see, we have 12 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm going to put a little number here. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the screen there, but these are the measures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Each one of these is going to represent a bar in our 12-bar blues progression. So this will work for any key, any tuning, any instrument, any rhythm. So what we're going to do is we got to learn how to count. You count to 4 and then you start over. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Now you can just go 1, 2, 3, 4, or you can go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, or you can go 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E, or you can swing it, whatever, it's all up to you. But counting is important, and whatever you do for one box, you got to do for them all. So each measure, or each bar, is going to be subdivided into 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. All right, so that's important. So for the first 4 measures, typically we're going to play the root, and the root is determined by the number 1. So if you can see that, 1. 1 is the root of the key that we're in. So the first 4 measures, we're going to be playing the 1 chord. If we're in the key of E, the 1 chord is E. If you're in the key of G, the 1 chord is G. If you're in the key of D, the 1 chord is D. So whatever key you're in, the 1 is the root of the key. The next 2 measures, the 5 and the 6, we're going to go to the 4 chord. And the 4 chord is the 4th chord in the key. So if we're in the key of E, the 4 chord is A. If you're in the key of G, the 4 chord is C. All right, so I'll explain more of that a little bit later, and I'll show you where that is actually on the fretboard of the cigar box guitar. Measures 7 and 8, we go back to the root. And what is that, you're wondering? That's my work phone saying, get back to work. Okay, so the first 4 measures, we're in the root of the key, playing the root, the 1. And then for measures 5 and 6, we go to the 4 chord. And then for measures 7 and 8, we go back to the root. And here's where it gets tricky. Measures 9, 10, 11, and 12, this is typically called the turnaround. So we're going to go to the 5 chord for the 9th measure, the 4 chord for the 10th measure, back to the root, the 1 chord for the 11th measure, and then back to the 5 chord for the 12th measure. This is typical, standard. You can do all sorts of other crazy things here, but we're just going to learn the basic because this is a beginner's 3-string cigar box guitar lesson. And I will show you some cool things that you can do with this, but you got to learn it this way first here. Okay, so to repeat, to review, Measures 1, 2, 3, and 4, we're on the root. Measures 5 and 6, we go to the 4 chord. Then we go back to the root for measures 7 and 8. And then measure 9 begins the turnaround. We're going to go 5 chord, 4 chord, root, back to the 5 chord. All right. So now we're going to start plugging and playing some chords, and I'm going to show you how to put this little box into your brain so that it comes out your fingers. I'm tuned E, B, E. So technically we would be in the key of E. So E would be my root here. So all of the open, if I just play the open, that's basically the root. So for the first 4 measures, I would just be hanging out here on the root. And I could count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's entirely up to you. So for this case of this example here, I'm going to be rocking here on the middle string, on the 2nd fret and 3rd fret. So like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So I'm doing and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So I do the and on the up string, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2. So let's count this first 4 measures here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, which brings me up to measure 5. So remember I told you it's the 4 chord? The 4 chord is at the 5th fret. What do you mean the 4 chord is at the 5th fret? You just need to press the believe button. And believe me when I say the 4 chord is at the 5th fret. It goes like this: do, re, mi, fa, so, 1, 2, 3, 4. So they call that the 4 chord here. So the 4 chord is at the 5th fret. And again, I'm going to go like this. The same count: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Back to the root for the 7 and 8. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Which brings me up to measure number 9 and this is the 5 chord. So the 5 chord is at the 7th fret. What do you mean the 5 chord's at the 7th fret? Where's that believe button? The 5 chord is at the 7th fret because here, watch, if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, do, re, mi, fa, so, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5 chord is at the 7th fret. So again, I'm going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 down to the 4 chord. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 down to the root. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 up to the 5. Back to the beginning. So I'm going to play the whole thing all the way through, starting at measure number 1. So, cool, huh? It's just a little formula, a little template, a little structure, a little skeleton, if you will, to get you from familiar with the basics of the 12-bar blues. Now, remember I was telling you that there's all sorts of crazy cool things that you can do with this. For example, you can walk up on measure number 4. You can walk up to the 4 chord here. All right, here's an example. 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4, 2, 2. Okay, so remember how I was telling you measure 9, 10, 11, and 12 are called the turnaround? All right, so typically, again, typically, I keep saying typically this is where you're gonna start and stop. So you're not gonna really, even though you think you're gonna start on the first measure, typically you start on the turnaround. So like for an example, here, a blues song will start off. And then you'd start here. So you start and stop kind of on the turnaround. How would you end it? If you're ending on the turnaround, we'll see this big old 5 right here. You change that to a 1. You X out the 5 and you make that be a 1 chord. And then then you just do like a crazy lick. So if you ever want to end this thing here, you don't do the 5 chord because this 5 chord pulls you back around to the root here. But if you want to end it, you just do a 1 right here. So this is the way it would sound if you're going to end it. Beginning at the turnaround on measure number 9. Again, see this open, 1, that's the ending. All right, a lot of cool things you can do with this. I'll give you one more example and then we're done for this video. And that example is taking this second measure here. See how it says 1, 1? So we're gonna change that to a 4 chord. So that now see that there's like all of these are 4 chords now? Isn't that crazy? So this is the way that sounds. Okay, so now the second measure is a 4 chord, so I'm going to go. All right, yeah, so I don't want to get too technical and make this an advanced lesson because I want to kind of keep it on the down low, kind of keep it kind of simple, but I do want to kind of throw a little jam for you using the 12-bar blues, this little blues box here and this key here. And I'm going to be doing different chords. So here we go, starting at the turnaround. All right, have fun with that. If you have any questions at all, be sure to hit me up in the comment section below and I'll do my best to answer that. But until then, have fun with the Blues Box.